welcome back. And moving on to our first segment for today, talking about the extraordinary Arab summit that took place in Cairo. And of course, we have unanimous approval for the Egyptian plan for the reconstruction of Gaza Strip without the displacement of the Palestinians. Over the phone, we have Ambassador Medhat Miligy, a former Assistant Foreign Minister. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. So first of all, can we talk more about the objectives of this extraordinary Arab summit taking place in Cairo?
Well, actually, the most important thing of this summit and communique that came out of it is that we are showing the world that there is a possibility and even a reasonable solution for the Palestinian and the Gaza crisis, and that we can reconstruct Gaza without having to expulse the Palestinian citizens from the Strip, as Mr. Trump suggested earlier, in a plan that is unreasonable and impossible to achieve, actually, according to many sources, not just the Arab sources, but even the Europeans and many people of the American administration themselves that show that it's impossible to move 2 million persons out of the Gaza Strip. Besides that, of course, it is a violation to the international law.
Mr. Ambassador, can I ask you about more information regarding the components of the Egyptian plan for the reconstruction of Gaza?
Well, actually, according to what we've seen, because the plan, as we know, is the communique as we've seen it, speak about a lot of things. But the main points is that, first of all, that we are looking at peace as a strategic object between the Arabs and the Palestinians and Israel. I mean, this is the first thing. I mean, we are looking at the goal. The goal is to reach peace, while in other formulas we've seen it's totally the opposite. I mean, it's totally to continue the war, to continue the aggression, to continue the genocide, actually, that is taking place for over 15 months now. This is one thing. The second thing is that there is a plan that will not necessitate the expulsion of the Palestinians from their territory, and most importantly, that what we are offering here is something that is actually accepted by the international law, and will save lives, actually. And I think that this is the most important thing that so far. Of course, there are more details to that. And as we have heard, that there will be more details about the logistics, about the mechanism of how it's going to be done. And this is going to be issued next month, as we heard after the summit from the Egyptian officials, especially the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, Dr. Badr Abdelat.
Also including allowing more humanitarian aid to enter into Gaza Strip versus also a long-term plan for development.
Exactly, actually, and as you know, Israel has taken already a step ahead by denying any humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people in another violation to the international law, in another war crime, as His Excellency Abdel Fattah said that this is that you cannot use food as a weapon and to starve the Palestinian people. But actually, I mean, Israel is used to violations to the international law. It's the countries that has mostly violated the international law in the whole world. So this does not mean anything to the Israelis. However, I think that the most important thing right now is to uh, start the diplomatic campaign, as was explained earlier, to gather more voices to support the Arab plan, the Egyptian originary plan, and that the Europeans should support it, and most importantly, that if the American administration can support this plan, then we have achieved something, because at this point, the United States can convince Israel that it's very important. However, the signal that we've seen both from the American administration and from the Israelis are not at all in favor of the plan or even accepting it, which is actually here will come now the role of the diplomats to try to say more try to convince Israel and the United States of the plan, so that we can reach something. Because unless we can convince them, then this plan is obsolete.
Well, talking about the role of the Palestinians in this respect, because of course we know from the very beginning that the Egyptian plan is taking into consideration respecting the full sovereignty of the Palestinians and their full control on their own land.
Well, exactly. I think that this is the most important thing that Egypt has spoken about, an administration to manage the Gaza Strip that is actually consisting of Palestinian technocrats who can manage the Strip, and elimination of any control of Hamas in this phase or even in the future. I think that one of the most important things in this plan is that also it tries to respect and understand the Israeli concerns about security and about Hamas and so forth. And Hamas itself have said that it is ready to withdraw from any authority in the Palestinian territories of Gaza, of course, for the time being. I think that we have a situation that we have an occupation. And according to the international law, according to the UN Charter, any country that is under occupation has the right to defend itself, and has the right to defend itself even by force. And this is what Hamas is doing. So Hamas will dissolve by itself once there is peace. There is no need for Hamas in a peaceful situation. So the idea is that we have to address peace. This is the most important thing. This is the goal of all what has been said, whether it's the plan of President Trump or the Egyptian plan that has been now being called the Arab plan. All these supposedly are aiming at peace. And if we have the peace, then we don't have to have any violence in the region. And this is the problem. Israel do not want to cede the land to its owners, the Palestinian, and accordingly, it's hard to convince the Palestinian people not to defend themselves and not to resist the occupation, while this is the only thing that is accepted by the international law. So the idea is to reach peace. And if we cannot reach peace, then it's going to be difficult for any party to convince the Palestinians. I'm not talking here about Hamas per se. I mean, we can remove Hamas, but then there will be another resistance group. You can call it whatever. But there will be, the concept will still be here because there is an occupation. As President Sisi has said it, as long as there is an occupation, we cannot have peace in the region. And this is the most important thing. Israel wants to keep the land and achieve peace at the same time, which is actually impossible. Actually, Israel even doesn't want to go into serious talks about phase 2 of the agreement that it has previously signed, and she wants to extend phase one. And the reasons for that, that Israel wants to exchange prisoners, but doesn't want to commit to end the war, and doesn't want to commit to any cessation of the military operation in Gaza. That's the main point. I mean, the whole thing that is, well, if we can consider what's happening now is a kind of a calm situation in Gaza, is that Israel is still hoping to get its hostages. But according to what we've seen from the policies taken by the extreme right government in Tel Aviv, that if they will keep on the massacres on the Palestinian people, and the minute that they take their hostages, and this is the most important thing. I don't know, I mean, unfortunately, that this is also the position of the United States. Yesterday, there was a very, very serious threat by President Trump to Hamas and to the Palestinian people at the same time. That shows that to a large extent he is still convinced with his idea that the Palestinian people has to move out, and that what we've heard about him retreating his idea is not clear. It's not actually real. As I mean, if we see this tweet that he declared yesterday, so we are in a very, very critical situation. And I think that the situation will unfold in the next 48 hours or even 72 hours, no more.
Well, of course, it is a challenging part, of course, Mr. Ambassador, what you have just mentioned, but also talking about the proposal that we have. Definitely, we need many different measures to be adopted to be able to continue, because especially that this proposal is completely different from any other proposals actually, and again, as you mentioned, it's going to be very challenging because others will try to hinder this.
Well, the idea is that we are presenting something that is, I mean, something that we've worked on, that is viable, something that it can be achieved in a humane manner, while you don't really have ears to listen to the plan. You have people who are insisted that, no, we have to move the Palestinian. And the Israelis are saying, I mean, they're saying it in various ways. I mean, there is it's not a forcible displacement of Palestinian. I mean, it's a voluntary displacement, and they call it anything, and they try to even accuse Egypt that Egypt does not want to open its border to receive the Palestinian, and it's becoming absurd, actually, the narrative that has been used by Israel and the United States, because the idea of evacuating the Gaza Strip is not even, I mean, physically possible. I mean, how can I force 2 million people out of their place if they don't want to leave the country? Which means that you are asking for another massacre of the Palestinian people, another violation to the international law, another inhumane position and situation. So this is the real problem, that you don't have ears. I mean, it's not that we have the American administration who wants to examine even the plan. I mean, just by reading the headlines of the plan, and the United States and Israel have rejected it, which is absurd. I mean, you don't even have the time to read it. It's like they are fixated on one position only, which is the expulsion of the Palestinian people, and they don't want to see elsewhere. And this is impossible, and this also is absurd, because how can I just tell you to read it and to negotiate and to see what is possible, and at the same time what you're offering is impossible to achieve. And so we are in a kind of dire situation, because the only possible thing that I see is that we are going to continue the war on the Palestinian people, and that's the only goal that we hear from every declaration made by the American administration or by the Israeli administration, unfortunately. And this is actually leading the whole region to an explosion.
Well, funding also will be another challenge when we talk about this plan. Do you expect any support from the international community or donations to support and help in this reconstruction?
Well, actually, yes, I do, because actually, as we heard in the press conference made by His Excellency Medhat, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, after the summit, when he said that they're going to deploy diplomatic efforts to explain the plan to the whole world and gather support for this plan. But here I'm more clinging on the European position that is actually getting away day after day from the American position regarding this issue and many other issues, especially, as you know, the Ukrainian issue. And I think that we have to get more support from Europe, although they have their own problem actually with the Ukrainian crisis with the Russian, and especially that the United States have said that it will not support Zelensky and Ukraine once again in its war against Russia, and leaving him to his fate, actually, as Mr. Trump have said it clearly in the open press conference and humiliation of President Zelensky, as we have all seen it on TV in the Oval Office. However, what I want to say here is that since we are having a different position from the European different position from the American, we have to exploit this and we have to use it in our favor, because Europe is a more sincere partner than the Americans. And although traditionally they have been supporters of Israel, but day after day they see how it is unfair and unjust, and they see the resemblance of the Ukrainian case with the Palestinian case, something that we've been calling double standards for a long time, because actually the way that they have been dealing with Ukraine by helping Ukraine, by arming Ukraine to defend itself against the Russian aggressor, is what they should be doing or thinking about when it comes to the Palestinian against the Israeli aggressor. But at the beginning, they didn't want to see the resemblance of the same idea from a colonial force, and now they start to see it, and they start to understand that the situation cannot continue like that forever. However, I think that there's still a large support of Israel in those countries, but day after day, reason is starting to prevail, and they're starting to see things in their reality. Not to forget, of course, the general opinion in these countries that have changed dramatically since the 7th of October until today, after seeing the massacres and the genocide committed by the Israeli army against the civilian Palestinian people and the civilian facilities in Gaza. Not to mention, of course, that now we are seeing the same idea starting to be applied in the West Bank, because at the end of the day, the concept that Israel is seeking is totally different from what we are looking for. Israel is looking to totally empty the West Bank and Gaza Strip from its citizens, and have all Palestine to itself in order to have a Jewish state, and maybe they will even think of expulsing their own Arab citizens of what we call the Arab of 1948. So unfortunately, this is totally different from our concept, is that we are looking for a two-state solution. We are hoping to reach a two-state solution next to each other, living in peace.
Ambassador Medhat El-Miligy, a former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for joining us. And moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back.